Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
I want to tell you how much I love you before I murder you.
Oh, yeah. This is a good one.
Yeah.
This
It's
is
a nice depressing one. We should release that one on Christmas.
I was gonna say we might do this one next week instead of the one we just recorded, just because this one is, I think, a little more Christmas. And you're wearing your Christmas sweater, so perfect.
It just occurred to me that it'd be funny if, it's like every time we do 2 episodes, we're both wearing the same clothes 2 weeks in a row. Now, it'd be funny if I just change my shirt so you're wearing the same clothes 2 weeks in a row and I'm not.
Nice.
And you've worn that shirt before in previous records, so it's not like it's your recording shirt. You just wear that a lot.
Yeah. All right. So tonight's episode is going to be about telling people.
I just called to say I love you. I just called. I don't remember exactly something about.
Don't sing too much, or we have to pay for it.
Oh, we got to pay for it. Not that anyone could tell from my singing what notes they were supposed to be.
Yeah. I just called to say.
Ooh, that was loud.
I was trying to do like a mixture of Raymond and
Walken.
Christopher Walken.
It came through.
Yeah, nice.
It was a part Muppet, part Raymond. And
part Raymond is kind of a Muppet voice. Yeah. So, no, today's episode is about. I want to say talking about the big stuff now. Today's episode is about telling people how important they are to you. And the reason I think this is an important topic is I'll start us off with a story. Let's start this comedy podcast off with a sad story.
That's what the first thing I said when you broached the topic. I said, "Are we just tell stories about friends who died? Is that what this episode's going to be?"
No, it's going to start off that way. But so my grandmother, who I think I've mentioned before on the podcast, was my favorite person, one of my favorite people. My grandmother died almost 10 years ago. And when she died, I kind of realized that I never really told her that she was one of my favorite people. Like, I told her I loved her. And I think that she knew that, because I spent a ton of time with her. I'd go over on weekends to help her with shit. And, I had a relationship with her that, doesn't really compare to other grandparents and other, is not the same as my grandfather and, and my aunts and uncles and everybody else. It was just a different relationship. And so I think she had some idea, but I never told her outright, how important she was in my life. What?
I'm just thinking maybe I should call 2 out of my 3 nieces and tell them that they're my favorite 2 nieces.
Yeah, no, I like to with my cousins and stuff. I like to fuck with them and say "Oh, you're my second favorite," and then they all wonder who first is.
Well, when my brothers and I would do hot sauce stuff, the YouTube show, the hot ones, they ask really hot sauces. They're eating it, and they answer honestly the celebrities because you're in too much pain to think of a lie and play games. And so my brother will always ask me, "Who's your favorite child?" when I'm doing a really really hot sauce, and I invariably say my daughter-in-law because I don't really get in trouble.
Nice.
It's Joseph. We all know it's Joseph. Anyway, you're telling me how much.
It's never the middle child.
I'm a middle child.
Oh, okay.
He's the middle.
Your favorite child can.
The video of me holding him in the hospital the first time, I'm telling him, "You're going to be Daddy's favorite because you're the middle son, and you're going to be Mommy's favorite because she's the second child and you're the second child. Don't tell your sibling. Don't tell Jacob because there was no Leah." But you were just saying how you preferred one grandmother over the other grandmother. Continue.
No, my other grandmother died before I was born, so now that she's just my not favorite by default. And no, my grandmother, I didn't tell her, and for a little while after she died, I was really fucked up about that I never told her how important she was to me. And so I kind of made the decision that I would tell people how important they were. And I wrote my dad a long letter a few years ago and sent it to him and telling him how, even though we had issues, which I think are normal, but I think that for a long time he didn't realize they were normal to have the kind of issues we had because, He had
Did
that
you ever
rejection.
realize your family wasn't as dysfunctional as you thought when you got to know other people's families?
Mm, a little bit. So anyway, I was going to mention. So I wrote my dad a long letter. I haven't. I need to do. I need to like.
I need to send it.
No, I sent it. I need to figure out. I need to put into words for my mom. Um, that one's just tougher. I've told a couple. I've told one of my great aunts that like and I need to tell my grandfather actually. The problem with my grandfather is that if I like took the time and wrote something down and like made like a wrote something to let him know in the best words possible, I think that his response would be like, "Thank you, that's nice," and then he'd be like, "We're ready to move on."
See, it's weird because Generation X, one of the stereotypes is like our parents never told us they loved us because we were all latchkey kids, and I was a latchkey kid. My mother went back to work when I was 12, so starting when I was 12, my younger brother was like 9. We were alone. I had to put dinner in the oven, blah blah blah. But my parents were hippies, and so like they were huggy and love you all the time. Like my father, who hit me as much as any other Generation X, kid was hit because that's what parents did. Hugs and I love you all the time, and still, I mean, my dad lives closer to you than he does to me. Was 5 minutes away, whatever,
I know.
and
I go
him,
over there all the time. So
but
I'm going to tell
yeah.
you.
So I
Oh,
grew up
sorry.
with I grew up with huggies and lovies all the
Yeah.
time in my family, um, and it's affected me. But it's funny because it's like I see it as a stereotype all the time, and Gen X stereotype. It's the one that's the opposite for me. Like, because it's supposed to be like lack of expression of love. Like parents from the silent generation don't know how to express themselves that way, and not my case.
Yeah. So back to the Patreon thing that we were just talking about, but I will use veiled terms right now. I think just because it was starting to come up, that story that we were referencing that we will not completely mention right now because it's never been in any version of the podcast that's made it to. But if we get a certain
$100
number,
patron.
if we get what should we say? If we get 30 $10 patrons, I will tell that story. I have another story that I'll tell, which is these are the most humiliating
So I shouldn't have
stories.
told that story on the other 2 podcasts I was a guest on.
No, you should not have.
Well,
What
Michael
was the
Cole's
other?
a fairly common name, though.
What
So
was the other podcast you were a guest on other than Embrace the Void?
um, I was on a podcast called Dox Your Friends, and you're supposed to tell the most embarrassing. That'd be a great
Anyway,
podcast, though, wouldn't it?
but I haven't. Yeah, dogs and friends. So it just sounds like vulgarity for charity plus evil. Like,
Of course, it would be hosted by Eli. It's a good point.
all right, back to the podcast. What we're talking about? Oh, so yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it's important to tell people things.
Yeah, but do you have any? Have you had any situations like that where you, especially
I killed someone with that.
Sorry.
Problem.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, as atheists, it's like, and that was the other thing is I wasn't an atheist yet when I dealt with my grandmother, but I still felt like I had missed this opportunity to tell her, and now I realize that like once they're gone, they're gone, and so I think that it's even more important now. But
so I have a couple of thoughts that come to mind. A couple of stories. So I think about, like I say, I come from a family where expressing love in the family was super, super common. It is super common. I mean, it's still,
yeah,
do.
My parents, we all tell each other we love each other. My mother, my sister, my father, and I.
So, but I think about when my uncle died, and he had a long illness, like where he had been given 6 months to live and lived closer to 2.5 years. So
yeah,
super long. But like when it was down to the last time he was hospitalized, he wouldn't let any of us come in the hospital to see him except my father. because he didn't want anyone's last memory of my father had to go in to do business stuff. He was tying up his paperwork and his business and make sure everything was tied up. His lawyer and my dad being there to make sure everything was transitioning. And but he didn't want any of us in the family, my brothers or whatever, myself, to see him hooked up to machines, wasting away, and have that be the indelible memory of him that we had. He wanted it, all the positive things, and part of like looking back at it, part of it I realized is that we were all in such a good place, knowing how much we loved each other and knowing all the things had been said. There was no "I need to see you one last time" moment because we were always, sharing that. So that's one
Yeah.
thing that pops in my head. I did have a time where, to be heavy and talk about wonderful death, a girl that I used to perform comedy with. So I used to do comedy years and years and years ago, right? And at some point, I quit in 1995. I stopped doing comedy um,
You mean
after a
stand
couple of
up or?
no, doing improv. So when I did improv locally, I took improv lessons when I was 12 till college. Then after college, I performed locally in a club. Then I ran a club, um, a branch of the club that had been in previously, and then we closed our doors because we lost the venue, and we were found another venue, and we were prepping to open that one, but we were in between those times. And at the same time, my day job, my company was in the middle of a huge merger, and didn't know if I was going to have a job, and things were super stressful, and blah 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 blah. And so I quit the comedy club just because I wasn't performing, I wasn't teaching, I wasn't doing anything anyway, and it was too stressful to just build a set. So a couple of years later, like 2 years later, one of the women from my old comedy group died of a brain aneurysm. And so a mutual friend called me to tell me that it happened, like during the workday, and it hit me really hard that we hadn't spoken in a while, and she was kind of she was single, which and but in her late 20s and single and wasn't with anyone, and kind of an odd duck, and it's a lot of people who do comedy are, and I took the afternoon off work and drove around to different comedian friends of mine, female friends of mine, who worked in the area, like pulled them out of their offices just to tell them how much I cared about them and how much they meant to me, and how and if you ever need to talk to anyone, blah blah blah, kind of things, just because I felt like missed that opportunity with her and everybody. So that's the one time I actually did that kind of thing of like actively go out of my way, um, other than just normally happening. And a more uplifting one, this past Friday night, mere days ago, previously to Friday, I got invited to a party at a friend's house that was going to be all improvisers, and it was mostly um, a former colleague of mine who invited mostly her students, but a handful of people who performed with her, or in my case, was her director. And one of the people who came was a former member of my group. And as I was like making my rounds to say goodbye, she sat me down, looked me in deep in the eye to tell me how much she loved me. And we don't see each other very much, and how, we need to sit and talk for a while because I love you and we never get to talk. And I think about you so often and I miss you so much. And I'm like, well, I can't just walk out now like I was gonna. So it ended up being like a long conversation. Um, and then some other people from our era came over, and it became this love fest of how much we all miss each other and how much we were like family for so long. But now that we don't perform, it's kind of missing. So it was now. So like basically, I could have crashed my car on the way home, and it would have been cool because I already had that conversation with a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's a way of looking at it. So I mentioned, I'm trying to think. I think this was on the last episode we recorded earlier. That's going to be next week's episode. I mentioned my friend that died while I was working with you. To describe our relationship, so she had been really good, like my ex-girlfriend's college best friend, and we had this relation, and she was my roommate's she had been my roommate's girlfriend for a little bit, and so we just had this relationship because my roommate, who I was one of my best friends on campus, and her and my girlfriend, who was one of her best friends on campus. So we had this very sibling-esque relationship, and I got we my girlfriend and I dropped out of college, and we stayed in touch, but it was very light in touch and great. I still haven't seen her butthole yet, though. The cat, not my friend. I did see her butthole. So we we just didn't we didn't talk that much, and then towards the last year of her life, we talked a bunch because she'd reached out on Facebook about something, and we talked a whole bunch. And she was living in Florida, and I said, "Oh, my wife and I like to drive down to Disney now that we're living in North Carolina, and we have I think Logan was two-ish." I said, "We have a 2-year-old," and she goes, "Oh," and I said, she said, "Next time you're down, we should hang out." And I said, "Yeah, my wife and I will take you out to dinner next time we're down." And she said, "I'm really glad you said that, because I talked to another guy from the same college, I don't know, a couple months ago, and said, 'Oh, if you're ever in Florida, we should hang out.' And he said, 'I'll make sure next time I'm on a business trip, and I'll get a hotel room with a king size bed, and we can hang out.'" And she was like, she's like, "He's married and has kids, and it was such a scumbag move." And she's like, and I just was like, "Oh, I was so grossed out." And she goes, "And then here you are, and and you're like, 'Yeah, I'll bring my wife and kid to meet you.'" And so that was the last conversation I ever had with her, was telling her that, and having her say to me, like, "I'm so glad you weren't a disgusting piece of shit right now." So
Good call that you went against the original plan. Sure. It's funny because I have a coworker who had a coworker because she just quit the company recently, and she lives in my town, and because we can work remotely most of the time, we haven't seen each other in months in real life. And so I reached out to her yesterday to see if she wanted to get together for drinks tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And then I was very careful to say, "I was wondering if you and your husband want to come meet my wife and I at the wine lounge that we go to on Wednesday nights," to make it very clear. I mean, not that there's any reason she would think otherwise, but just to make sure there's no interpretation where I'm being a creep.
You should, if you go meet them, you should wear upside down pineapple pins. It's a sign of
friendship. Yeah, she would.
Yeah.
There's no way they are hip enough to know what an upside down pineapple is. No way.
So for listeners, last time Matthew was here, which would have been for a record, I think, we had, I forget if it was an actual pineapple or Sarah had some pineapple decoration out or something, and you're like, "Oh, you guys, I didn't know you guys were swingers." And Sarah's like, "What?"
Yeah, for those who don't know, the old way of meeting up with another swinger was in the grocery store, put an upside down pineapple in your cart, like balance it like if the kid goes so that they know. And then it's tends to be swinger cruises. People wear clothing that have patterns with upside down pineapples. They wear pineapple charms or pins upside down. So if you know anyone who wears pineapples upside down, they're either not paying attention to how they put on their accessories, or they're ready to mingle.
Yeah. I think that I would not want to be a swinger. I feel like if you're in the swinger community and you get rejected, it's not that it is more insulting or feel like a lower bar to entry, but it feels like it should be on some level. And I feel like I would be like, "Oh, we couldn't, we got rejected from a swinger thing." So also, like, I don't want to.
I only have one problem with swingers. I have some friends who are into that lifestyle, and it makes making salacious jokes about banging each other, instead of being funny, it's, "Oh, really? No, I was kidding. That was just a joke. That was me being outrageous."
Yeah.
There was one time we were at a party, and Madhavi stuck out her tongue at someone, and the guy is like, "That's a long tongue. You should use it for something." She goes, "Oh, I do." And he goes, "Well, I met with women." And she goes, "So did I." And he's like, "Really?" And he looks over at his wife and like nudges her to come over. And then she's like, "No, not really. Joking, not really."
Yeah, I don't think. I think that like I don't know if it's that it's a generational thing, the swinging, or that we just haven't. My generation hasn't gotten to that point where we're like there's polyamory, but I don't know that my generation participates in swinging yet, or
Yep. I've got
is
friends
it
in
like a
both camps. Yeah.
yeah
Like really, like literally, like this couple goes to parties to meet other people and swap and stuff. Yeah. Like the classic swinger version, where I have other friends who just their marriage is semi-open and they're open to other things. Yeah.
yeah. I do want to do an episode about non-monogamy, but I want to have a guest on.
I want it to be a threesome. Is that what
That's not what I meant, but I just meant like I've got a list of topics, and there's a few of the topics where I'm like, the two of us shouldn't be talking about this by ourselves, and that was one of them because I know that you know people, and I know people that are in different forms of ethical non-monogamy, or we could argue about the ethics of non-monogamy, but I don't have a problem with it, but I know some people would. But non-monogamy. Yeah, well, I'm seeing cat butthole every single week, so mushrooms.
No, olives.
Oh, olives. Oh, I finally get it. I thought you were talking about mushrooms that when you mentioned that before.
No, it's olives. Little black buttholes.
That makes so much more sense. I was like, what in the fuck are you
Mushrooms
talking about?
mushrooms are delicious on a pizza.
Yeah. Well, I don't like olives on a pizza, but
Yeah,
I
you
like
don't like
olives
because they're
too.
little buttholes.
Well, I like little buttholes, but
Stupid cat messed up my microphone. Again. Stop it, kitty cat. Bad kitty, go away.
in the spirit of this topic, do you have anything to say to me?
No.
Okay, good.
My cat muted my microphone. I wish I'd do it again.
Your cat's just fucking shit up. Yeah. Damn. So anyway, this is a highly entertaining episode of for the YouTube video. So, are you on mute or now or no? It sounds like you are. Is that just to the cat? Okay.
The microphone's built into the camera. Oh no, actually, I have the external microphone I'm talking about. But she was like using the microphone as a scratching post earlier, so I'm trying to reduce some of it on your ears, if nothing else. I know it's a different track and you can edit it out, but you don't need to hear it either.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Because you mean a lot to me, Michael. Enough that I wouldn't want you to have to listen to my cat scratching against the microphone.
I know you're saying it non-seriously, but you know that you mean a lot to me. Obviously, the fact that you're my co-host, we talked about it actually last week.
We will talk about it next week.
No, not on the next episode. But I'm talking about like last time we recorded. We talked about the fact that after that first day of work, I was like, "What the hell?" And Sarah was like, "Well, you don't have to see this guy again after you do the contract."
6 months of job,
and it's been almost 6 years that we've known each other now, and it's been good. And I would, obviously we don't get to other than these recordings, we don't hang out that much because of COVID, but you're the person I hang out with most other than coworkers and Sarah. So that's why you got a jar of sauce.
I got it. Yeah, it's like it's funny because you were just here last night. Like we don't get to hang out. You were just at the house last night.
Yeah, but in the last 6 months, I've probably seen you in person twice.
Yeah, how many other people have you seen in person, other than work?
Yeah, I mean, other than work and family, I don't think I've seen anybody.
Yeah.
Well, so
Yeah. I mean, as I'll say next week, you're the one of three people I can rely on
yeah,
to get me.
yep, yeah. That meant a lot, honestly. Like hearing that when you said that,
Yeah.
or
When you hear it next week,
when you're going to say that, it's going to mean a lot.
will be meaningful.
Who else will be? I feel like I feel like we're time travelers.
I I think that's from an Isaac Asimov story. It's from some story. Madhavi and I were talking about the other day. We've been saying that for decades, but there was some like science fiction anthology, TV movie or something, where that was a tense they used. It was will be, and
Yeah,
I don't remember the details around it, and I don't remember if it was maybe Ray Bradbury or Isaac Asimov or someone of that ilk. But we need to figure out what was from, because we say it all the time and we don't remember why.
yeah,
I think it was something like, their belief pattern was everything that happens will happen again one time. So was will be is like a tense because of that.
yeah, yeah. I think that so, so sci-fi related and also kind of related to the topic that we're talking about. Um, Sarah and Logan and I have been rewatching Doctor Who. We're on the Matt Smith era, and Logan watched a video on YouTube a week or so ago of all the regenerations, all
Watch that. Yeah.
from William Hartnell all the way. They did not have the David Tennant into Ncuti Gatwa, but they had Jodie Whittaker into David Tennant. So they showed them all, and they showed the scene like kind of leading up to each one is a long video.
The way has been prepared. Yeah.
But I loved that when you watch them back to back to back, you kind of see a little bit with Christopher Eccleston, but less so. But with David Tennant for sure, and then with Matt Smith for sure, where their last words as the Doctor before regenerating are very much a time capsule of their feelings in that moment as
I think
actors.
Eccleston certainly was.
You were fantastic, and
so was I. Like that. Like that was kind of sums him up. So fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. But like like the I don't want to go, and then
Matt Smith, like very different.
Yeah, Matt Smith being like I will always remember when I was the Doctor, and I was like, oh, they're like it's like a time capsule of like this is how I felt in this moment, and it's different because they're not talking about somebody else, but I do some of that. I found a notebook a couple weeks ago that it was kind of a journal, more of letters to Logan before Logan was born. So it's like the 3 or 4 days before Logan was born, I wrote every single day, hey, we're going to the hospital tomorrow so that mommy can get induced. And I wrote like I'm
just like when I got her pregnant.
Yeah, one little shot and it barely lasts a second. No, and I wrote and I just I wrote in every single day for 4 days and then
4 whole days.
Yeah, well, and that's
then I had a kid, and there goes time to write.
The last entry is like 6 months in or a year into Logan's life, and it's like, hey, sorry that I haven't written here since you were born. It's been busy. I promise I'll write more. And I found it the other day, and that's the last thing I wrote to him. But I
haven't written in the last 4.5 years, but it's been really busy.
Yeah. But and I I think I do a good job telling him every day. Although with a child, I do think it's important to kind of record, whether it's in writing or something else, until they hit a certain age to make sure that they'll because he won't. There's a good chance he could forget a lot of. If like let's say I got hit by a bus tomorrow morning, there's a good chance he could forget a lot of the things I've said to him in his life because he's still young enough to forget a good portion. And so there's a whole bunch of different spots where when he's cleaning out stuff, he'll find things and poems and like things that I've written. So
secret messages will pop up. You need to send something via Western Union to be delivered to him in 20 years.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Are you Marty McFly?
Like, oh, his fucking movies, Dad with the stupid goddamn '80s movies.
I actually thought about making a like YouTube video that would like not that would be and triggering it to like get sent to him on his like 18th birthday, like just putting it on like unlisted and sending it to him on his 18th birthday, like in case I wasn't there or something. But
Delayed cameo.
yeah, hi, this is your father. So
If you don't recognize me, whoops.
yeah, but
Yeah, I made it out of that zone. I think my kids are old enough to remember me now.
I would fucking hope so.
That's funny because
Especially none of them really do drugs, so
Jacob does a lot of alcohol.
a lot.
Well, I mean, he's in that millennial. No, was he millennial or zillennial? He's a zillennial, I guess, Gen Z of mixology being a big thing. Like he's got a bar you wouldn't believe. With
Nice.
it's like I've never owned bitters. Like if a drink says bitters, I'm like, well, that's something for a bar to make, not me. He has 4 different kinds of bitters at any given time in his house, in his apartment, because he makes so many different cocktails.
I mean this in the nicest possible way, but is he a douchebag? One of my best friends. Oh, you met Pat. Pat always is talking about bitters and stuff, and every time he used to share with us, oh, I made this drink with bitters, and this, and I got special orange bitters, and I'm like, douchebag.
Well, I think it's funny is that that's the kind of bars that they go to. Like they don't like. He doesn't go. He and his wife are classy people and go to classy things, so that they don't go to like the neighborhood bar O'Malley's and have just a beer. Like it's not like they go to a wine lounge or they go to a breweries and they go to places that are crafty. So they have like that's just what the normal experience is to him. Like the experience of mine of going to sports bars or neighborhood Irish pubs is not his general experience. The closest thing is they go to the Flying Saucer in Charlotte. That's got like 150 beers or whatever.
Nice. That reminds me, now that I forget why, but that reminds me of, so one of the big things that I did when I was getting married was, you get your groomsmen a gift of some kind. And for my groomsmen, I got everybody a pocket watch. And my dad got like a different pocket watch, and my father-in-law got a different pocket watch, and the groomsmen all got the same basic.
Because they're equal to you. You don't like any of them more than the others. You didn't have best man. You had
there wasn't enough
just
options.
like everyone else, man.
There wasn't. No, I had a best man. Adam was my best man. But in the box,
first. Huh? He does everything first.
Oh my God, Adam is. You haven't gotten really to see it yet, but you will. He can be a real jealous bitch. When Sarah and I went to Disney World for the first time together, he was like, just so you know, I went there with you first. And then when I was talking about incorporating, getting the LLC formed, and I was like, we're doing this, and the big thing right now is the podcast, and so I really want to, have Matthew be a partner. And he goes, as long as we own more than 50%, because he doesn't want us to ever be in the minority. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And he
not doing 34, 33, 33, none of that shit.
No. So he although no, he'd have been fine with that, because then we would have owned 60,
not 25, 25, 50. Like that's not.
Yeah. So I don't know. That is what it is. 25, 25, and I'm 50.
Yeah.
But
why would it be me? That okay.
But I don't know. He just
always, when his jealousy goes, he stops thinking rationally.
Yeah, but he's funny about that. But in the boxes with the pocket watches, I wrote little notes to each of them, like not like a full letter, but like a small card's worth of note, and let them all know what they meant to me, and which was tough because at least 2 of them are no longer in my life whatsoever, but not really because of
just not everyone's your soulmate, even you think they are at the time.
Yeah. No, one was he was married to one of the bridesmaids, and I really liked him. But when they got divorced, we lost him in the. He lost us, I guess, in the
Right.
divorce,
She got you guys in the divorce.
and for only a couple months because we don't fucking like her. But we couldn't. We wanted to trade, but they wouldn't let us.
That's like my brother, my younger brother is was married before his current marriage. This is his second marriage, and his first wife was a bitch, and she was really nice when they were dating, and like literally when they got engaged, she became like a bridezilla, and we're like, can't wait till this phase is over, and then we discovered, oh no, that's normal. She was putting on an act so that they could get married, like so they can get engaged. Like she was faking being nice like the whole time, and but they were living here, and she was from the Bay Area, like Silicon Valley kind of area, whatever, and between the two or whatever, and I don't remember exactly. But I had a buddy, like one of my best friends since eighth grade, was moving out to that area, and she was like, "Oh, you should meet my friend Christine, like one of her bridesmaids at my brother's wedding." And so we hooked them up for Howard and Christine to get together when he went out there, and like they went out like on a friendly date, like for her to show him around a little bit, whatever. And they were both like head over heels first date. So they have been married now for 20 years, and Jeremy's now 15 years into his second marriage. And like literally, like Christine was a bridesmaid because of her long relationship with my ex sister in law, but they chose Jeremy in the divorce. They were like, Howard was like, I can't not be friends with Matthew's brother, and she was like, yeah, so and so's actually kind of a bitch. Well, yeah, we'll stick with Jeremy. So literally, she lost one of her bridesmaids in the divorce.
Nice. Yeah, we lost him, and then we just lost touch, and I moved down here. I started leaning towards atheism, and he started getting back into religion, and I think that I don't know if he listens to this. I don't have any hard ill will or hard feelings, but we just don't talk. Like the last 2 or 3 times we talked on the phone, I put my foot in my mouth about, well, you know how religion is, and not knowing that he was getting more religious. And then he's like, well, I actually really like God. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Tell him I say hi if you talk to him. If he talks to you, how about that?
But so, yeah, unfortunately, I don't talk to everybody. But I did, if that guy called me up today, I would be like, hey, how are you doing? Like, I'd be very happy to talk to him.
I have a friend who I was kind of in his wedding. I was his best man, who we don't talk at all anymore because the 2016, the day after Trump won, I posted a meme that listed a bunch of marginalized communities, both ethnic and gender and orientation kind of thing, with that was along the lines of, it's not me that I'm worried about over the next 4 years. It's, my friends, list all these marginalized communities. And he replied to it, are you with them in all caps, question mark. And I literally don't know which thing on the list was the them he was referring to.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just like liberals in general. Like I don't know what the them was, but my instant response was to the person who I was the best man at his wedding was block. Like I don't even want to. I don't even see a benefit to a conversation about this. And then Madhavi blocked him, and then we had to explain to our families, oh yeah, we blocked him. Why? I don't exactly know, but it can't be good. Whatever he meant, none of it could be good.
The best part is that he was probably being silly, and you don't even know. How funny would that be, though, if he you finally ran into him and he's like, "I was joking."
No. I would say except my siblings were friends with him for a little while,
Wow.
and we're like, what happened to him?
Yeah. Yeah, I get a lot of those kind of friends where it's like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, we had a friend of mine who was from my America Online days. So he was an online friend, though we got together a couple of times in New York City and hung out, and once in California. So we had met in real life. And he went like men's rights activist at some point, like completely anti-woman, crazy, off the wall men's activist. And like all the people, there's a group of people on Facebook I'm friends with who are from the Yes and days that we were, this improv comedy Yes and group, and like all of them are like one by one, when did he go nuts? When like everyone has unfriended him, and in like a chat group that we had, that was like for people who used to hang out on this one improv message boards. It was all about, when did he go nuts? What the hell happened to him? Like, he used to be normal, right?
Yeah, that's the problem with the men's rights movement. Is like you can have one or the other. You can be anti-woman or you can be men's rights. You can't be both. I am firmly anti-woman, but I also don't think men deserve rights. So,
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah, and so therefore, I don't even know that I have the right to the opinion to be anti-woman, but I am. So fuck you.
Yeah. So, are we giving everybody homework after this episode to reach out to people and tell them how important they are, but to do it in a way that doesn't sound creepy, like you're hitting on them. Like, I was talking to my spouse the other day about some of the people who are most important to me in life. And I just might let you know, you're really close to me in my heart. I really feel like your friendship is not I love you. I mean, a friend of mine said I love you the other day, and for a second I was like, is she hitting on me? She's pretty hot. That'd be cool. And but then I was like, oh no, she's just saying it because we're improviser types. Yeah, I knew that we were.
Yeah.
We did play husband and wife in a TV commercial once though. And, she was like, "And we feel like we don't see each other." I'm like, "I don't know. I see you all the time. I watch our commercial all the time. You don't watch our commercial all the time."
I would love to give people that homework assignment, except that this episode for Patreon,
New Year's resolution.
It will, yes, New Year's resolution. It will come out to say the Patreon version comes out on Christmas Day. The public RSS feed will be Friday. What is Friday? The 29th. So yeah, if you're getting this,
New Year's Eve will be on Sunday. They can make it as a resolution.
Yeah, a resolution to tell people what you think of them, and you can start by going to
we don't want to start fights.
No, I promise this is going to be good. You can start telling people what you think of them by going to our podcast's page on Apple or whatever podcast you listen to.
No, do it on Apple. That's the same place. Go to iTunes.
Apple's
That's
the best
where you
place.
got to do it. Even if you don't listen on iTunes, go to iTunes and
write in the review section. Write what you think of us.
And make sure it starts with 5 stars, because the algorithm is either 5 stars or failure. They don't know an in between.
Yeah, I think it's the algorithm.
Yeah, he invented the internet and by extension, podcasts.
Yep. So, no, genuinely though, I do think it's like a good thing for people to do. You need to just weigh. You need to weigh what you. Sometimes it's about telling people. Sometimes it's about showing people. But occasionally, you need to, even if you do show people that you love them, you need to tell them and how much that they mean to you. And
it doesn't even have to be love. It can just be how much you like them.
Yeah.
Just give people a rating scale. Or like how a 5-star review with elements of why you feel they deserve a 5-star review. Yeah. And then you should subscribe. You should ring their bell so you get notifications when they make a new video.
Yes. But also you can I personally after what happened with my grandmother, I started doing it a good amount, and to the point where I actually write, if somebody, if I've said this on the show before, but Chris Hardwick, I wrote him an email because he is the guy. It looks like you're doing the Matt Smith dance.
He had a thing where
yes,
the best way to dance is pretend you're jerking off 10 different guys at the same time. That's how Chris Hardwick dances.
Yeah. But I wrote an email to Chris Hardwick and said, like, hey, just the worst day of my life. I came home from the worst day of my life, and I watched your special, and it relieved me a tiny bit of the worst day of my life. So, I just think it's important to let people know. He doesn't know me, and he, who knows if he even got the email, but I tried, because I think it's important to let people know when they've done something good, when they've impacted you. I think that gratitude is something that we need more of in general, especially in a human to human.
Jimmy Carr tells a story about a woman in the audience of one of his shows one time who said something, and I'm going to get the exact details wrong, but the important thing is the generalization, that she was there watching the show because she was celebrating her 13th bonus year and the fact that he saved her life. And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "Well, 13 years ago, I had decided to take my own life, and I was waiting until everyone in the house was asleep so I can take. I had a bunch of pills, and I was going to take all these pills after everyone else was asleep. And while I was waiting for them to go to sleep, I was just messing around YouTube, and I came across your videos, and I spent like the whole night watching your videos and laughing, and then I didn't do it because like that stopped me from doing it that night, and then I got help, later. So I've had 13 bonus years of life that I shouldn't have had or wasn't going to have because I watched your videos. And he said, like, and to me, it's like I'm just having a laugh, like to me, it's just getting up and being funny because I enjoy making people laugh. But to some people, it's so much more.
Yeah.
So like everyone, I think, has that there are things that you don't realize, things that you do are so much more than what you think it can be.
Yeah, and I think that there's a good chance that if we all expressed the good things that people do for us, the good impacts they have, that while you may not make someone laugh, but somebody who might
I
feel
will. Oh,
you
you mean the audience? Never mind.
yeah, you can have a similar impact in that way just by telling someone, "Oh, you did this thing that made me feel good," when that person could be feeling like I am worthless. You could make them feel that you
Worthful.
could have worthwhile. Anyway, I am tired and I want to go home. So why don't we wrap this fucker up? Thank you all for listening. We would like it, like as we've mentioned a little bit right now already, that we would like you to write a review if you like the show. Give us 5 stars. That's a good way of starting, or a thumbs up if you're listening on Spotify or whatever. If you're on YouTube, please hit like, subscribe, ring the bell, write some comments. You can, in the comment section, definitely feel free to tell us like, oh, this you guys made me laugh when
Or just write, "This is the comment you told me to write." Take that, algorithm.
yeah, anything. If for some reason words and likes and stuff are not enough for you to express your your
Your
kindness towards us,
admiration,
your
your
admiration,
friendship, your need to express that without us you are nothing, you can do that with,
but
as they say, gifts of money.
yes, you can go on Apple, and Apple Podcasts has a subscription option, which is $3 a month. Sorry, yeah, $3
Yeah, $3.
a month. I don't know why they spaced on that. $3 a month, and it will get you early access Mondays instead of Fridays
Yeah.
to this podcast. It will get you an uncensored version,
Well, a less censored
a
version.
less censored version. We
There are
leave a
some
little
things
bit.
I say nobody should hear.
Yes. Yeah, there are. And there's some things that he says that he absolutely wants you to hear, but I edit. So, and eventually, if we get enough $10 Patreon pledges, that's 30 $10 Patreon pledges, we're going to have a special episode where we talk some crazy shit.
And you could do that at patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
That is correct.
$3 or $10 level, your choice. You can use their player or you can plug the RSS feed into your pod player of choice.
Yep.
So many choices.
Yep. All right. So, you got any last thoughts?
The last thing I want to do is thank everybody. I say everybody have a Merry Christmas if you didn't already. Chappy Chanukah, though it's past. And a wonderful big happy new year. Do your homework of start off the year by telling people how much they mean to you, except for the people you hate. Don't bother saying it to them. It's not worth it anyway. And
No.
just wanted to thank you guys for talking about the big stuff because the big stuff loves you back.